And we are live.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Strictly Casual's official Spider-Man Miles Morales review and impressions. I am one of your hosts, James Walmer, joined today by some of my incredible friends, Vincent DeSantis and Ryder Maldonado. We're going to be breaking down our experience with the game, however much or as little as that may be. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Ryder, how far are you?
All right,
And what are you
starting
playing
off
it on?
with my progress in the platform. I am on PS4. Haven't got PS5 yet, but I just finished the story recently. I haven't gotten into the side stuff or any of the side quests. I did one criminal mission, but yeah, I finished the whole story and luckily right in
Did
time.
you do the Bodega Cat mission?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did most of the bodega, but I don't think I got in the suit yet. I don't think I finished it, but I did.
There's a second
There's a
Bodega
second?
Cat mission to
Yeah,
get suit.
so I haven't gotten the second one, but definitely enjoyed that little part. That was a fun little tidbit of the game. What about you guys?
I'm at 31%. So I did the mission with the Prowler, and then that is where I'm at right now.
Okay, awesome.
I was surprised to see the Prowler. I didn't
not.
know he was in the game. Okay, cool. I am playing on PS5. I am 100%
Oh, sorry, I'm also
done.
playing on PS5. I
Yeah.
apologize.
PS5, 100% done. Starting New Game Plus. I got 3 more trophies till that glorious platinum, baby.
Nice.
I'm stoked.
You're grinding.
Nice.
Grinding. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. There are some hard boss fights in this game and a couple hard trophies to go for
Wow.
that
I
platinum.
bet.
Do the trophies revolve around those boss fights?
Only one.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens if you don't get it during the boss fight? Can you go back and replay
You
it,
can
or do
replay all the missions and like the
Okay.
separate encounters, so it's easy. They make it real easy to get back in
Cool.
there. And with PlayStation's feature
Mhm.
where you can jump in, like they have those cards on the bottom
Mhm.
of the PlayStation 5. You can just click square
Mhm.
and it brings you right to that moment, and it's so
Oh,
sick.
That's
nice.
so nice.
Like
nice.
they pop up on the corner of the video and they can show you what to do.
Oh, nice.
They do have those.
that's been
I
helpful.
have not used one yet.
Okay.
I have
okay,
not used or interacted with that feature whatsoever yet.
Okay.
Feature's cool. You can go from the homepage of the PS5 and click square, and all of a sudden you're swinging. Like you start mid swing, like
Wow.
you're playing right next to the mission. It's insane.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Um,
So talking about platforms, is there anything we want to talk about before we get into graphics?
We can talk about what modes we're playing it on.
What
Like
do you mean?
I'm playing it on fidelity mode,
Okay.
whereas you're playing it on performance mode.
I'm
right,
playing
James?
it on performance mode.
I feel
And
like
Ryder, you don't have the
yeah,
option, right?
I don't have the option, but I feel like if I do get it, I would go 60 frames because it does feel smoother, even though it's 30 frames on PS4. But it might just be like an effect that I have with my imagination. But it looks super smooth on PS4, way
Yeah.
better than Spider-Man PS4. I don't know. It's always fine-tuned, you know.
Yeah,
So I went
that's true.
straight from Spider-Man Remastered to Spider-Man Miles Morales. And
Yeah.
so now as we're starting to get into graphics, playing the whole of the entirety of Spider-Man PS4 on performance mode. I try to go back to fidelity, or I try to go to fidelity mode just to check it out. And whenever I go to fidelity mode, I just can't, excuse me, I just can't bear it.
Okay.
Huh. So I played on fidelity the whole time because I wanted to play with the ray, like
Yeah,
the
the
ray
effect.
tracing and all the detail and all that. I was like, I need to see what this PlayStation 5 can do. I switched to performance and I played a little bit, and I was like, honestly, it's fine, but I'm loving fidelity mode, so I switched back, and I'll be playing. I was gonna play New Game Plus on performance mode, but I think I'm just gonna play it again on fidelity
Wow.
mode, just because
Wow.
there's not a big enough difference to me at all. Like,
To me,
Yeah.
the difference is detrimental. Like,
That's
it is
crazy.
so strong that my eyes hurt if I play fidelity mode because
Wow.
it's like
okay,
the framing and the
Right.
motion blur
Mhm.
is like too ridiculous for me to like look at. Maybe it's because of my distance away from like my screen. Maybe I'm too close to it.
try
But,
turning
like,
off motion blur.
I
That's an
tried
option in
that.
the
There's settings
I
for that.
tried that, but it was just like I couldn't.
Mm.
It wouldn't do it for me. And
Gotcha.
going from fidelity to performance, the only thing I noticed was in fidelity, darks are just a little more darker. Like there's a scene in Miles Morales when you go into the laundromat. Remember when you go
Okay.
through the window into the laundromat, or it's not a laundromat, but it's like a pawn shop or something like that.
Okay,
It's like when you're breaking into the Tinker's like secret room.
Okay.
trying to
Remember
think.
that?
Okay, is this in Spider-Man?
Yeah, Spider-Man Miles Morales. So you go in this room and there's like, I remember there you can see the God rays coming through the window,
Oh, okay.
and there's like a washer and dryer unit like
Mhm.
right there. And so I remember I was like, oh, I think this would be a good opportunity to test ray tracing or fidelity mode versus
Fidelity.
performance mode.
Hmm.
So I went in performance mode, and then I switched to fidelity mode, and I noticed it was just a lot darker.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was
with,
like,
with light reflections. More
right,
light
but I just didn't
reflections.
notice the
Got it.
like,
HDR.
You don't see light reflections just like in a
Yeah.
normal ass room, you know.
I'm loving the fidelity though. I'll try
Yeah.
performance again, but I'm just loving fidelity.
I feel like
Maybe it just looks good on PS5 no matter what though. You
Yeah.
know, I'm
yeah, it looks
I'm not
good
picky.
either way. It's just I don't know if I started to get concerned that it was my PS4 or sorry, my PS5. That,
it's probably a setting thing. I'm gonna try to send you my settings and see if
Okay.
you try fidelity mode and enjoy it more, or it's the same thing. You just want to go performance
yeah,
still.
please do. Because I
Okay.
even like looked into my monitor settings and stuff like that because I'm like,
It
this
could
is
be.
so choppy. I can't I
Alright.
can't deal with this.
We'll give that a shot.
You think it has
Yeah.
anything to do with the monitor settings? Like you haven't recalibrated it for that? But I know, like the settings should be simple, right? But
Yeah, I know. I
Uh-huh.
went into my monitor has like game settings and FreeSync and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So I like tried to like mess around with that to see if it did anything, and it didn't have any noticeable difference so far. It still looks I don't know, it just looks choppy to me by comparison. And so I think what it comes down to for me is like I feel like Spider-Man should always be a game that feels so fast.
Sure.
absolutely.
And so I think performance mode is just so like fitting.
Makes
Like when I'm
sense.
swinging around the city, I want to be able to like see the fluid motions because
Right.
that's just kind of the character Spider-Man is, whether that's Peter Parker or Miles Morales. And so I think it's just more fitting for me. And I don't see a huge it's not a night and day difference in terms of graphical fidelity that I just can't justify not having the 60 frames.
Sure.
But that's also just me personally.
What did you guys think of the kind of mocap performances of all the characters? Did it look like very realistic, or did it look almost claymation sometimes? It's so soft, you know?
I think it looks better and remastered than it did in Miles Morales.
Oh, okay. Wow. Peter and
I haven't played remastered yet, so I can't compare it. But there were certain scenes in the game where I was like, this feels weird. Okay, specifically in the very beginning of the game, this is light spoilers. There's a light, maybe not even, but there's a dinner scene with Miles and his aunt and his friends, right? That whole scene to me was very good until everybody started having dinner. When they start talking to each other, I thought the dialogue was all of a sudden awful. I was like, this is terribly written, not written good at all. This is cringe.
Yeah.
Like the characters' faces this is really bad. I was like, I cannot wait for this scene to be over. And that's when I texted James. I was like, James, the writing for this game is not good. But it quickly got better. I think just that scene is not good. Like, I don't know what it is, but
I think that
sense.
for me, the major detriment to that scene was Miles' mom. I just don't like.
She looks terrible.
It's not that how she looks. It's just I don't like her voice.
Yeah, it's sometimes
something
cringy with
voice
the
acting.
Spanish, like the way she delivers the Spanish line. It doesn't sound, natural.
Authentic,
Yeah,
natural.
authentic.
Yeah.
That was the only scene, though. That was the only scene. I was gonna bring that later when we talk about story, but we were talking about like how the characters looked, and I thought that scene was a miss, like a major miss at the most intimate moment of the game.
I think a lot of the stuff between, I love the every time you see a video of Finn, like in the beginning of the game, there's like one that's like shot on a phone or whatever, and Finn's like distressed in the camera, and she's like talking. It was after like a major like backstory thing happened, and she's like talking in the camera. I'm like, dang, she looks really good. The hair texture looks really good.
Right.
Her like the natural like dangling of her earrings was really good, and just all the facial animation was incredible.
Yeah, I agree.
But sometimes Miles does look a little clay-facey.
Yeah.
I would say that Finn's face sometimes can definitely get clay-facey when it's not in
Let's see, right?
when it's not in an actual cutscene. Like when you're
Cutscene,
just
yeah.
walking around
In
and
game, right?
In game
In-game cutscene.
when it's like that transition between like it's kind of in game, it's kind of
Yeah, yeah.
cutscene.
Sure.
It's like that doesn't look good either. But
Mhm.
what the cutscenes are pretty dialed in, pretty nice for the most part.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
the graphics are incredible. Don't get us wrong,
Yeah.
we're really nitpicking here.
Yeah.
Overall,
Right.
the graphics are very,
Absolutely.
very
Yeah.
The
Even-
snow looks incredible too. Well, I think
Oh.
sometimes there's a little bit of compromise because you don't get a lot of the same lighting effects. I think Vin, once you go into Spider-Man Remastered, you're gonna see all the lighting that comes from the sun and be
Okay.
like, oh my god, this is incredible, just the way it reflects and things like that. But in the snow, you don't see a lot of that because it's mainly gray sky. It's winter. But you do see a lot of really nice like snow particles and cutscenes. You see like snow getting on his suit
You know what you
and
do
stuff
see?
like
Yeah.
that.
when the snow drops on his suit and becomes like a little wet mark and then slowly dries away.
That's the stuff you live for. Cool thing about PS4 is that I noticed there were a lot of people kind of asking the question of what system is this on, and it could be through like video quality, but when I watched, I could never tell, if I was watching someone on PS4, PS5, because it's pushing the limit for PS4, and I think
it is.
The color, especially the color,
How's
so.
your PS4 sound?
You know what's funny? For the longest time, for years, it's been so silent. But I think after I was playing Miles Morales, it's getting a little bit of a buzz and a hum, and I'm like, this is finally what everyone's been talking about.
Are you playing on a Pro?
Yeah, the Spider-Man version.
That
So I'm
also
like,
helps
what?
that you're playing on a Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been playing it on my base PS4
Jet engine.
I start Modern Warfare up
man.
and it just, I'm like, I might die today.
Today's the
I
day.
might die. Yeah.
That's funny. Well, I guess continuing on, do we want to continue on to gameplay or any other
let's do
closing notes for? Okay. As for
let's do
gameplay for me, I thought it was incredibly smooth, and this goes into pushing the hardware and the graphics. The combat felt very fluid, and it felt like it was kind of taking what Spider-Man PS4 and adding a new little twist to it with the venom strikes and the spider bite, I guess they call it, with the new kind of holding L1 and square and all the different features, the little the extras you can do. I think that added it. There was no repetition because of that. It kind of kept everything fresh.
I disagree.
Oh, really?
I do.
How do you feel about it?
I think so. Coming off of Spider-Man PS4 again into this, I felt there was so much more variety because Peter Parker simply had more gadgets.
Okay, yeah.
And I get why, like, Miles Morales has Venom Strikes, so that kind of counteracts like a lot of the need for some of the other gadgets that you get from Peter Parker. But I think some of the Venom Strikes don't like flow well, and this is what I mean. Or I guess they don't pace well with the quickness of combat.
Yeah. Okay.
And because here's the thing, when you Venom Strike, it feels hard to like sometimes pull that into like a string of combos, because you hit them and then they're like, they'll be on the ground but they'll be stunned, and so you're like, do I just keep hitting them or do I
waste it? Right. Yeah.
I definitely felt that way in the beginning, but after getting all of the powers and like more bars of venom, like able to attack, you get like L1 is different with circle, triangle, and square. Plus you can chain that with like holding two of those buttons and doing a ground pound to send them up in the air, like things like all this sort of stuff. Chaining that stuff with like camouflage and like all that sort of stuff is like so sick to me. Like it is awesome when you're on a rooftop and you're sending people over with the Venom Strike and you're webbing another guy up and stuff. Like, it feels so good in my, like, it's different enough. I didn't want it to be the same, because this game, from all the gameplay I saw before I played, I was like, this is the exact same as Spider-Man PS4. I'm just playing another character and another story, which is fine, which is cool, because I like Spider-Man PS4 a lot. It's an incredible game. But I think the Venom Strikes switched it up just enough, and the slightly different animations, it is basically the same game. At the end of the day, it's basically the same game. But I think the variations are just enough to keep me interested and wanting more. And I think that those upgrades with the Venom Strikes really, really help with that fluidity in the combat. It at first though, they kind of hold your hand. They kind of hold your hand with it and be like, okay, here's the punch. Now do the punch for 7 missions until we give you the next thing. And I think you're on those punch missions, James. That's where you're coming from here.
I think the most recent ability I got was the ability to like lift other enemies into the air.
Okay. Yeah.
With like L1 and X.
Yep.
So I can do that, and I actually do like doing that a lot.
Yeah. But you only have 1 bar of Venom right now, don't you?
No, I have 2.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you're right.
I have 2 bars of Venom.
Yeah.
But how many do you get at the end of the game?
3.
You have 3?
Yep.
That seems like...
Well, because it's kind of OP.
Yeah, because you got to charge it up and everything.
It's just hard for me to like... I can't chain it together.
Dude, I'm telling you, you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there.
Okay.
It'll feel good.
It's
just a new gameplay mechanic. You just gotta learn it. It's great. Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that I was afraid of is when I saw them introduce that, I was thinking about Batman Arkham Knight. So it's like, we have the Batmobile. Let's use it for every single, puzzle and,
Which
challenge.
they kind of do.
They kind of did, because I found every single time you had to open a door or, it's like they're using that, but I think they kind of had a good balance of, hey, we're using this for kind of everything in this game to keep it different, but we're not overdoing it to where it's like, okay, we get, what I mean? It was a good balance.
Oh, in
Changing it up.
addition to that, I like the new puzzle mechanics that they introduced with when you have to like web like a gear to hold it in place. Like a lot of times you pull something and then you have to like stop it with webs and then to like hold it in place in order to do something else. Or you have the conductive webs that you'll like web one thing and connect it to another to like connect a circuit. I like that too. It's better than in Spider-Man PS4 where you just find like a circuit breaker and just shoot it with electric webs.
Yeah.
Right.
I like the way that they've improved the puzzles.
There's a lot more puzzles in this, I think, in a small time. Which is cool.
Absolutely.
How do we feel about the gadgets?
I think I only used probably one of them because I was so distracted thinking about the Venom Strike. It was a little too much. It was like too much to think about, even though there's not as much as Spider-Man PS4. You know what I mean? I think I only used them for the heavies really, but I think that they were strong enough that they would take those guys out, and it ruins kind of the challenge from Spider-Man PS4 of those heavies would be so hard to take down. In this game, it almost eliminates that challenge because you have the one gadget, the gravity well, completely eliminates them, or the mine that you would stick to them. So I think,
so here's what we have.
Yeah,
we have the mine.
Mine.
The
We have
electric
the
mine
decoy.
gravity well.
You mean the two? There's
The two. Yep. The holograms.
the hologram fighters,
Yep.
the gravity orb, and
And the web
Regular
shooter.
webs, yeah.
The web shooters felt slower to me than in Spider-Man PS4.
It was a
Like,
lot, yeah.
wait, if I tap R1 on my Spider-Man PS4, I'm whipping those bad boys.
You played this back to back, by the way.
I
You
did play
played-
this back to back.
That's
You
good
played
comparison.
Spider-Man Remastered and then immediately jumped into
Yes.
Miles.
Yep.
right.
Credits rolled, then I jumped into Miles.
Okay,
And then in Spider-Man Miles Morales, there is a little bit of a delay in there.
sure.
And it's a little harder to web up the enemies. Maybe that's just because I don't have it upgraded enough yet. I have 2 upgrades for it so
That was the
far.
first thing I fully upgraded, just the web shooters. I
Yeah,
was like,
you
forget
have
the rest
to.
of the tech. Yeah.
Oh,
But-
which reminds me, the upgrading system, instead of having multiple different like types of like 4 different types of tokens in order to spend, you only have 2. You have activity tokens and you have the tech parts.
Kind of nice.
I don't like it
Okay. Why
for
is
this
that?
reason. Sorry, I know I'm fine. I'm
it's good.
sounding
No,
like
no.
devil's advocate right now, but because I like the fact that in Spider-Man PS4, I liked how I was able to kind of stockpile a certain type of token, and I
Okay.
was better able to allot those resources and have like built up resources for like one sort of upgrade rather than like a new suit. Whereas now that I'm
Well-
using the same currency kind of for everything, because even though tech parts are more for like upgrades, it's not entirely for upgrades. You still use activity tokens for upgrades. And so even though there's like less things to unlock, it feels like I have to make more of a decision between, all right, am I really going to go all out and get like a new suit, or am I
Right.
going to get an upgrade?
Yeah.
The only thing I would argue back at that is like this is such a smaller game, like in a lot of regards.
Yeah.
I think adding some of those extra tokens for like random activities would have seemed so like unnecessary, I guess. Unless they created different tokens for the things that are already there and changed the whole like economy of the tokens, if that makes any
Sure.
sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was like, because I have everything. I have everything in maybe 15 hours of gameplay. You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah,
a
sure.
little bit more than that.
Very easy to attain it all.
It
That's
is
fair.
pretty easy to obtain.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else gameplay wise when it comes to kind of combat? We already talked about combat. What else? What are we missing now? I guess swinging.
I like
Just
I don't know.
swing feels good.
feels hella good,
Swing
dude.
feels
When
good. I
you
bet
swing
it's
and
super
then you go
smooth.
like upside down and then do a flip and swing another web up, I was like,
The exaggerated swagger of a black
Oh
team.
my god. It's so horrible. I saw that. I was like, this is like so ignorant. I was like, what the heck? It's so stupid. And, like, I get the vibes, but we get in that once we
Yeah.
get in the story. The vibes of, kind of the music and kind of the atmosphere of the city is just completely different. But, it's just
It's-
it's something like
I love that the game starts and you finish the first mission and dude, that Jaden Smith song is just bopping
know, yeah.
and you're
I
swinging
love
around
it.
the city to
So
that. I'm
good.
like,
this
This
is
is it.
Miles, man. Yeah.
I wanted
this
more
is
of that.
it.
I wanted more
Yeah.
of like music as I'm just swinging.
We
through
only
the
got that as like 2 times. We got the Jaden Smith song
Yep.
at the beginning and maybe the end, and then Lecrae song in the middle.
Mhm.
And that's like those are the
Yeah.
two times you start bumping that. But I do like the hip hop that goes when you swing around the city, although that got old fast. Whereas in
Mhm.
Spider-Man PS4, that like dynamic, like big brass
Yeah, the
soundtrack
orchestra, yeah.
gets less old.
powerful.
But I think if there's a little more music variation, it would
Mhm.
be easier to. It'd be
Mhm.
better, but it's still dope.
Yeah.
It's
I feel
still
like we're
dope.
getting into the character more of Miles and like the style of him. But one of the coolest little details that I loved that they added to Miles was that he was able to sign to somebody in the streets.
Super
That was
cool.
at the end. I was like, oh, that's such a great little detail that you wouldn't think to add, but just adds to the whole the depth of his character. You know, kind of.
It is.
His
is pretty
aesthetic is
cool.
like, wow, he's so welcoming. Even though it felt at the end, the city and the community a little exaggerated, because I understand it's just a video game. The vibe of the people and the music and his culture, it was just like, oh man, that's all Miles
had someone-
Morales. You feel it, you know?
Like while I was streaming, someone in chat is like, "Oh my God, is Miles signing right now?" I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah,"
That's
and she's
great.
like, "That is like the coolest thing I've ever
Mhm.
seen." I was like, "Yeah, it's
Yeah.
super awesome." They really, yeah,
They nailed
and
the
they pulled it off.
representation.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they pulled it off in not like a cheesy, forced-in way to
exactly,
me.
yeah.
It felt natural and felt
Mhm.
like, okay, this is sick. This is how it should be. I
Mhm.
hate when stuff like that is like forced
Yeah.
in to appease an audience, and I
Yeah.
did not feel that was the case here.
It
so it's
feels
awesome.
really natural.
Yep.
Mhm.
So before we get like more into story,
Yeah.
right? Because we already talked a little bit about character Miles Morales. I really like how they added the Venom, or I wish they added more Venom into traversal. So they have the one Venom jump
Okay.
where you can point launch using the Venom.
Mhm.
But then I wish there was more of that in like wall running.
You'll have to keep playing.
Yeah.
There's a little
Really?
bit. There's not. It's not wall running, but there's a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see. Yeah.
Or
I don't
like
know.
when you do the roll and then you jump, I wish there was like web or Venom
okay.
with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes I just spam the L1 button to hear myself shock charge, like Venom charge real quick, even
Yeah,
though I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
gonna do
Feel it?
Mhm.
Yeah, just so I could feel something.
Yeah.
How was the?
No,
how was
there's
it?
a little bit.
How was the kind of controller? I don't know if there was any cool features when it comes to PS5 controller.
It feels good.
DualShock?
Yeah,
It feels
was there
really
like
cool.
added to the triggers or vibrations or anything?
So
So, yeah, James, explain it. I got you. With the,
Wait,
with the
which
visual
part?
here.
Okay. So when you're web slinging, if you might be sorry. When you're web slinging, you might be tempted just to pull the trigger all the way down.
Mhm.
However, if you if you really want to shoot that web, you can pull all the way down if you want. But you do a half press, and you'll feel a little bit of pressure, and you might not catch it if you just straight up pull it all the way down and you're really gunning that bad boy. So you let it rest at that halfway point, and then once you press X, when you do like the little gain speed jump at the end, you feel the tension release from
Yeah.
the controller, and so it'll go
Oh,
it'll go
wow.
from that half press and it'll just release all the way down.
Wow.
And
Yep.
so I think
Nice.
it's when you learn that. I wish it was a little more explicit in how they explain how that works. It was kind of something you just kind of have to find out. Like, oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Right.
The Venom strikes, everything with Venom you feel through the controller. You feel
stupid.
when you go interact with a computer, you feel little tips and taps of the keyboard.
Nice.
on
Did
the
you hear the
controller.
sounds through the little speaker? Any kind of like
No.
effects? I always
No,
love
I'm
that.
playing with
yeah.
I'm playing with headphones, so the
Oh,
speaker
okay.
on the controller is not.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't think so. I like the so to access the activity log, you do a swipe from the
Oh, yeah.
side of the touchpad. That's probably the same on PS4, which I kind of liked that. I thought that
fine.
was cool.
Yeah.
Just in terms of managing my stuff.
So when
Um,
that popped up, it was like swipe left to access the social app or whatever. I was like,
Mhm.
if I put this game down for more than a week, I am not gonna remember how to open the social log
Yeah, yeah.
at all. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This Miles Morales uses the DualSense a lot more than the Spider-Man PS4 remastered does,
Cool.
and it was a welcome
sense.
surprise.
Cool.
Understandable. All right, continuing back on to the character of Miles Morales as well as the performance of Najee Jeter. What do you guys think of his performance as well as any other character standouts for you guys in this story? I really think Najee Jeter was the highlight for me. I think he did a great job, just like he did in the first Spider-Man PS4. Another great iteration of Miles Morales, you know? His performance is great. Shines through the mocap, you know, especially now with next gen. You can probably see
Yeah.
all the nuances in an acting now. I like Genki. I did like Genki and some of like the podcast
Genki.
that would play.
Genki didn't have enough screen time. I'm
yeah,
mad.
I, didn't,
I'm
I know.
upset.
He didn't. Yeah, I agree.
I'm upset. I don't know. I think Najee, is it Najee?
Yeah, Najee Jeter.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Najee
Najee.
Jeter.
Yeah.
I think he did good, but I don't think it was anything to, like, write home about. Like, it's not like the
Yeah.
best performance I've ever
Yeah.
seen or anything.
Mhm.
Honestly, there wasn't that, like, knockout performance. I think even Troy Baker slept the performance as
Yeah,
as
no,
Tinkerer.
absolutely.
Do you,
He
you
just
know,
kind of played himself.
do you know who I did like particularly? Who I thought like, I don't know if they like say killed it, but I just really liked the character. Was the Prowler.
Oh yeah, Aaron Davis.
Sure, Uncle Aaron.
Yeah, I think he was great.
Nice. Yeah.
I
I think his facial animations looked really good too.
I agree. I think
His motivations were there. It
Nuanced.
was very clear, and you could tell
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, you could feel why he's doing it. You can hear it in his voice. You know.
Right.
that just
Go
wants
ahead.
to bring me into a little bit of light spoiler territory. That
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not ready.
Before
I'm not
that,
ready to get there
I'll
yet.
talk about Najee a little bit.
Hmm.
I like him. Sometimes I really like him. Sometimes I really dislike him. Sometimes I feel like he's needlessly whiny,
Okay.
but in more serious like
Hmm.
points when he is like talking
Hmm.
to his uncle or he's like talking to members of his family, like, and he brings it down a little bit. I'm like, great, this is great. But then when he's like in the city and he plays the whole like, oh, I'm unexperienced and like I have no idea what's like, I get it, but it's like
yeah.
your voice is up here, and I'm like, I just can't listen to that for extended periods of time.
I thought the quips, like the classic Spider-Man swinging around the city quips, were there, and they were fine. That was funny. I enjoyed that. Especially enjoyed it with Spider-Man PS4, and it was great here too. The J. Jonah Jameson, just like
Amplified.
stuff rolling around,
Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
They had a new person, like
Yeah.
she's a podcaster. Her name's
She's
what
like
is it,
a
Diane?
positive podcaster.
Danny, I think.
Danny?
The Danny cast. Yeah, I think.
She was
Something like that.
off and on to me. It was
Yeah.
like this is hilarious. This is odd. Like this is playing at a perfect time. This is super funny. And then another time it plays, I was like,
I can't hear this. I know.
kind of groaned.
Right
It's like,
before
I'd rather
mission,
hear
yeah.
J. Jonah Jameson.
yeah, give me my
Your
give me the
menace!
man, give me
Yeah.
the boy back.
I love
Yeah.
him. I really liked how Miles Morales' inexperience played out in his quips, because he'd be like, "Oh, I just thought, oh, I'll maybe next time,"
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
or like Spider-Man would have said something really good right there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
stuff
Like he's
like
trying.
that.
You could tell. Yeah.
Like
Seems
he's
genuine.
trying, and he's like trying to like think through it, but
Yeah.
like he's just like not there yet.
Uh-huh.
That is cool. That is awesome.
I did think because of the short game, though, you know, kind of like getting that depth of the lore of Miles Morales. I hope that maybe in a future game we get more into kind of the family and kind of like his mom running for mayor. Like they had a little bit of it, but I kind of wanted more of, you know, kind of the feast sections of Spider-Man PS4. I know we can't get that, but you know, stuff where it's like I want more Miles Morales lifestyle stuff. You know, it felt it was just Spider-Man Miles Morales, but I want, you know, a little bit more of who he is, and you know, like you said, more ganky and more house stuff. Maybe, you know, an office, campaign office, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Hopefully in the
Oh,
future.
that reminds me. I like how in this game, as opposed to Spider-Man PS4, when you interact with objects in the world, you actually pick them up and you rotate them in your hand. You give it the like
Instead of
Last of Us
floating.
sort of thing, as opposed to the, you know, floating.
Yeah.
And you're spinning it around.
Oh,
Any other
okay. I think it's
details?
time for light spoiler talk.
All right.
Okay.
Not. Here's the dealio. If you're watching this and about to click out of this video, we're not going to spoil the ending of the game or anything like that, okay? This is, if you really want to know nothing, sure, you probably shouldn't listen to this part, but if on it, we're not going to ruin it for you. I'm not going to ruin it for James. James is only 30% in. We're just going to talk about
Light stuff.
maybe early on story stuff, and then maybe some gripes I may have with the game as a whole, but not necessarily the spoiling the actual game.
Sure.
So, you've been warned.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Here's what I want to talk about a little bit. Ryder, I can kind of talk to you about this, but overall, because you finished the game, I think the story is weaker than Spider-Man PS4, because Spider-Man PS4 just rips your heartstrings at the
Yeah,
end.
it does.
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
think
The
I
stakes
think-
are so high in Spider-Man PS4.
exactly the stakes are pretty high in this game, but they
Okay.
don't feel really high.
Mm.
They
Yeah,
they are.
absolutely,
The
yeah.
stakes are there, but don't feel there. In Spider-Man PS4, when you're running up the building and Doc Ock is throwing those stuff down the
Yeah.
building, and you're like, "I looked up to you."
Yeah, there's
blah,
so
like,
much
all this
emotion
stuff.
there.
Oh,
There's so much.
Just
It's so good.
Yeah.
the crescendo
so
so
good.
well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that moment is like better than this entire game
Yeah.
emotionally.
Mm.
But That's not to say this is a bad story. It's a fun Spider-Man
Mhm.
story, and there are stakes and there are good characters, and you do kind of care about these characters too. So it's like it works, but not in any way as
Yeah.
much as it works with Spider-Man
Hmm.
PS4.
Okay, one thing I think it's regarding specifically the Prowler, the character I consistently bring back.
Mhm.
I think they try and feed too much on the like into the Spider-Verse sort of thing. Like they just kind of mirror that same kind of dynamic that happens where like, oh, he's the uncle and like there's reasons why like the family like doesn't talk to him anymore and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And Miles like finds some
thank
sort
you.
of refuge
Mhm.
in him. Go ahead.
I just want to say that the inconsistency of Miles and his uncle's relationship in this game
It switched a lot.
just
It
was so upsetting.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
why do they not get along here? I
Mhm.
don't want to spoil any story
Yeah.
points
it's
at all,
just-
Okay.
but they
the
all of a sudden,
motivation isn't
they're-
clear.
they totally get along, and then all of a sudden you're swinging through the city and Uncle Aaron's on the phone and he's like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, 5 seconds ago y'all were like dapped it up. Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
like why is this?
Why
is
am
this
I
here?
like trapped? Yeah. Or something.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
gonna
like-
say it, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That part kind of like made me
Hmm.
upset, but then I was like trying to think of it in a real family dynamic or feel real family relationship. Sometimes that's how it can be sometimes. You know, like there's different like things that you don't know about
Mhm.
that may be fueling those. But in a video game where there's characters
Mhm.
and a short story, I feel like I should know those things because
Mhm.
I was like, this is not
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know.
A great point that you made on I think since Spider-Man PS4 had that great climax and that great story with Peter Parker, it was associated with him. I think when it comes to Miles Morales, the main conflict was with other characters. I think that the motivation for Miles was, oh, let me try my best to help, but it has nothing really to do with me, you know?
Sure.
The conflict
Yeah.
was with other side characters, and he was merely trying to step into those situations and you know,
Yeah.
stop something or get involved, you know? And that's why I think it lacks that attachment. You know what I mean?
And I would say the Spider-Man PS4's ending was like a spectacle to watch, and I think this does have a moment of spectacle in it where you're
Mhm.
watching, you're like, whoa, like oh my god. But it's
Yeah.
not emotional. It's
Mhm.
very cool, but it's not emotional. to
Yeah.
me.
Hmm.
Okay, absolutely. Let's see anything
And
else.
God,
when it
the
comes to
boss
this?
fights. They were hard for me, man. I
They
don't
were-
know. Ryder used to
I-
have no problem with
I-
it on stream yesterday. and
Yeah.
James, I don't know how you're feeling, but I was struggling.
I feel like I had more of a challenge with Spider-Man PS4 with those heavies with the, you know, miniguns. Because like I said, those gadgets, when I remember them, I was like, oh, I have the mine. You throw the mine at the heavies, it completely
done.
eliminates them. So I was like, well, there goes. But I do get you when it comes to like main boss fights, because there was like two main actual character fights. That was the hard part for me, because there was like, you know, different there were different what's the word? Like there were different mechanics that you had to remember, you know? Stuff
Yep.
like that.
I don't really have any big nasty spoiler things to go over or anything here, but overall, like I am genuinely positive overall about this game for sure. It's really good. It's not one of the greatest games ever made or anything,
No,
but it's very
Yeah,
good.
it's
And
solid.
if you have a PS5, I would definitely say it's a must play.
Mm.
Like,
Mhm.
and I mean, if you have a PS4, you should probably play it too. But
Yeah.
if
It's a-
your PS5 is in sight, wait
Yeah.
for it.
It's a solid iteration to just give you a taste of what PS5 is going to bring with hopefully Spider-Man 2, because, you know, who knows, that could possibly happen. No spoilers, but you know,
It's good.
that
It's
could
like a
happen.
good tie over until like Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, you know,
This is like the beginning of the console generation,
Yeah.
guys. Like, and
Yeah.
these are the graphics.
it was
we're getting,
solid.
and it's
It was very solid.
pretty damn cool.
Mhm.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, hey, give me Spider-Man, I'm gonna play it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
And Miles Morales is the real deal. They didn't skimp on this game.
Absolutely.
They did not skimp at all. It's a great time.
They had a lot to live up to with like all the hype
Oh,
that's
yeah,
building up with Miles. I think after the movie, and now, you know, it's just forever building. So I think they did a great job. Looking forward to the rest of Insomniac and what they bring for Spider-Man.
This gets a Bob Shinga recommends.
Wow.
Nice.
Stamp of approval.
Yeah.
All right.
James, what about you? Any overall closing thoughts of the entire experience?
I think even though I think Spider-Man Remastered is better, I think it's a little, to some extent, I think it's unfair to compare to the two because of how big Spider-Man PS4 is in comparison to Spider-Man Miles Morales, and a lot of things you get with just having a longer bigger game. But I think with what Miles Morales as a game is given, I think Insomniac does their due diligence and makes it a really incredible experience.
Yep.
All right.
Good stuff, guys.
There you have it.
Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. We're gonna be trying to do more of these with more games in the future. So I hope you all enjoy. We are live on Twitch to do a lot of our shows. You can check out our YouTube right here is where you're probably gonna be watching this on what day does this go live?
Probably Thursday. So we'll be live on Twitch. Thursday the
4th?
The third?
Yeah.
Fourth?
The third.
Third, yes. We go live on Twitch Mondays and Thursdays.
Yes. Yeah, you can find us there, hang out. All of our links are in the description, all that kind of stuff. Please join our Discord, come hang out. We love talking to you guys. Have a phenomenal rest of your week, and we will see you on the flippity flip. Please play Spider-Man and Miles Morales. It's great. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Peace out, guys.
Have a good one, everyone.